Hello, my name is Daniel. So in this presentation, I'm going to be talking about the Snapchat streaks on my phone, and and to be truthful with you, I pretty much thought that this would be a disaster, but then I kind of started looking more at my streaks and thinking about how I keep those streaks with other people, and yeah, so there's a lot going on. Basically what I did was, sorry, I'm trying to remember the order. Um, so I took a screenshot of my streaks and I just sat there looking at the numbers and emojis, trying to see if I match up with how much I feel connected to people or if I'm being completely random. And then I picked two other people. My mom, she has no idea how Snapchat works. And then my friend Ethan, who I'm in the Christian club with, and he's a health data science major, same as me. Um, so he looks at everything as data basically. So both of those people pretty much picked up on similar things, but for entirely different reasons, which was pretty interesting to be honest. So now I'm going to talk about the concepts in this course that I'm using. So I took a total of four concepts. So let me think. Um, so I chose performance, the concept of performance by Sizer, and then paralinguistic material by Bauman and Briggs, and then entextualization again by Bauman and Briggs, and then datification by Zaloom. And I swear I was thinking like none of this stuff even remotely had anything to do with Snapchat. But then when I sat down carefully and really made myself come up with something to say about this, how this applied, this stuff surprisingly heavily applied to my streaks. Here's a screenshot of my streaks. I blurred out the names because of course I wouldn't put other people's stuff out there. But yeah, look, you can see the names and faces. And when I look at this, I can tell right away, right away who I care about and who I pretty much just keep in touch with out of habit. But some of them I honestly feel like I'm connected to, but then when I look at this thing, I guess this emoji and this number give me a feeling about this person before I even think about our conversations. So yeah, about performance. So Sizer writes about how communication gets molded for a particular audience. And when I started thinking about streaks in those terms, everything clicked. So streaks are basically a form of performance. Half of the snaps I send never end up mattering. Some days I only send a pic of my wall or my shoe, random, and the other person sends something back that's random as well. And we both recognize we're sending because of this thing we're trying to achieve. The little fire symbol becomes this tiny prize that signifies we're doing something right. And when a streak gets broken with someone I care about, I end up feeling rubbish when nothing's changed. A simple number gets wiped out. So yeah, basically, um so now I'm going to talk about paralinguistic material. Um, tone and face tone and face and everything. So Snapchat condenses this down to emojis. Emojis basically end up being the tone. So a laughing crying emoji means I instantly know they're being sarcastic. So a blank one means this snap feels pretty dumb. But wait, this is based off pictures that I took. So yeah, I'm going to send a snap of my ceiling fan again. But basically, this emoji colors the tone. So now I'm going to talk about contextualization. This makes a lot of sense once I understood it, actually. This is when communication occurs outside of where it originally took place and becomes something much more stable. And streaks literally do this. All those all those snaps that basically meant nothing end up being counted down to one number. And all of that original context gets lost forever. But then that number ends up being kind of synonymous with the whole relationship. I have had streaks with people I hardly speak to, but because our number is so big, we're best buds practically. So now I'm going to talk about datafication regarding Zaloom. The author points out how a string of th so the author points out how a string of 300 looks better than a string of 50, but really could be represented in a streak of two people being bored for a long time. No, no, no. Actually, my mom points out how a string of 300 looks better than a string of 50, but really could be represented in a streak of two being bored for a long time. And Ethan also had a comment that made total sense. So a string of numbers makes a person appear so according to him, a string of numbers makes a person appear more social than he really is. And when he made this comment, I was basically going, yeah, okay, this accurately describes how I would feel when I look at my own list. And my mom pointed out that a string of 300 looks better than a string of 50. Not the author. So not Zaloom. That was my mistake. Um so I thought about so now I'm going to talk about the interview that I had with my mom. So I thought about who else I would interview. So I interviewed my mom, and she hasn't she really used Snapchat before. So she basically took a look at the emojis and thought that they were replacing tone with little shortcuts for emotion. And then I think one thing that she said kind of stuck with me. She said that streaks look more like obligations than a function of a real conversation. She said that people might be keeping a streak going because they're trying not to look rude. Um, so this was pretty interesting to see. It was interesting to see her catch this pressure without even knowing anything about this application, about Snapchat. So then I interviewed Ethan, and he said that streaks are a little bit like competition, a little bit of a score. Ethan also said that he has streaks with people he barely talks to, and he has no streaks with people he cares about. So then he made a comment that fit with this concept of an contextualization. So he said that streaks give a number to friendships even when those are not. And I think he hit the nail right on the head with this one. So when I tried to put everything together, I realized that Snapchat takes a typical interaction and turns it into a performance where instead of tone, everything gets expressed with emojis. Also, everything gets lost in context because everything gets reduced down to a number from months of relationships. This number gets treated as something that measures intimacy. Also, once I understood this with this concept and a few others, I realized that technology tends to affect our perception of relationships, even when we view something that appears tiny. So, anyway, yeah. Snapchat changes our speech patterns because it blends performance with emojis, with numbers, with a bit of social pressure in a way that looks kind of normal, but changes how we decode others. By doing this, I realize how much our platforms affect our speech without us even being aware of it. The streaks may seem small, but its significance is fairly large. So yeah, thank you. And I enjoyed giving this presentation.